Central Minnesota Sports Hub. It's the Morning Sports Desk, presented by Wadena's Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade. Available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts, and streaming on YouTube.
Powered by Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade in Wadena, this is the Morning Sports Desk. I'm CJ Baumgartner. There's Corey Tackman. Corey, full-on playoff season yet again, and oh boy, do we got some games here tonight for the playoffs.
Playoffs?
Oh, I see. Nice.
Playoffs?
Playoffs.
And late playoffs for us anyway.
Late and far drives, at least from where we're at too. Let's talk about your game that's got the closer drive over in Fergus Falls.
Yeah, it's a 6A, I guess. Semifinal, not a subsection championship. It is a 6A semifinal between Parker's Prairie, the Panthers, and the Knights of West Central area. So the Panthers come into tonight's contest. They're 25-4 overall, a QRF rating of 122.7. Their winners of two straight are the Panthers, having beaten Ortonville and Clinton Graceville Beardsley each in 3 sets throughout this 6A tournament. The West Central area Knights are 15-14 overall with a 92.2 QRF rating, and they're winners of 4 straight. They won their final 2 matches in the Fergus Falls tournament to end the regular season, beating Walker Hackensack Akeley and Lake of the Woods in 2 sets. And then in this 6A tournament, beating Benson 3-0 and Breckenridge 3-0. I do want to take a look, CJ, at the 6A bracket and kind of let you know where we are and how we got to this point of the tournament. Belgrade Bruton Rosa is the top seed in 6A, which, again, we've talked about. They seeded 1 through 21 this year. No subsections. 1 through 21 in that section. It's a lot. The BBE beat Pelican Rapids as the 1 seed in 3. Pelican Rapids played in a pigtail and beat Rothsay. Then BBE beat Park Christian in 3 sets. They will play Hillcrest Lutheran Academy in the first game of the evening tonight at Fergus Falls. They're scheduled to start at 6. Hillcrest is the 4 seed, and Hillcrest Lutheran Academy beat Underwood in 3. Underwood, by the way, played a pigtail, beat Norman County East Hewell and Hitterdall in 3. So Hillcrest beat Underwood in 3, then beat Lake Park Audubon in 3 to set up that 6 o'clock semifinal. Parker's Prairie, the 2 seed, beat Ortonville in 3. Ortonville had to take down New York Mills in a pigtail and then beat Clinton Graceville Beardsley, while West Central area is the 6 seed. So we've had some upsets in this part of the bracket. 6-seeded West Central area beat Benson in 3 and then beat Breckenridge in 3. So QRF-wise, there's a pretty significant gap. You heard it, right? Parker's Prairie at 122.7, West Central area at 92.2. That's a gap. That's a gap of 30, in case you were wondering. But West Central area Knights are without a doubt playing their best volleyball of the season right now. They haven't dropped a set in their last 4. They're rolling and feeling really good. It is scheduled. I think the high school league bracket may have it for like a 7:45, or no, they do have it for an 8 o'clock start time. Panther fans, just so you know, I believe the intention would be to start this 30 minutes following the conclusion of the first match.
Sounds about right.
Don't think they're going to wait for 8. Don't take my word for this, but if by chance they can go early, I think they might.
They probably would.
It's scheduled for a 7:45 pregame and an 8 o'clock start time, and it's scheduled to be on 105.9 FM, the Superstation K-106, and it's scheduled to be on the Superstation K-106 app, and it's scheduled to be on the World Wide Web at WDenaradio.com. I'll be there for it, and I'm looking forward to it. Excited to see the Panthers play for the second time this year. And by golly, let's play a little volleyball.
What a fall for Panther sports, am I right?
Really good fall.
Really good fall. Cross country running, doing their thing. Football, obviously playing in the section championship game on Friday. And yeah, Parker's Prairie volleyball now one win away from a section final of their own. This has been not a long time coming for Parker's Prairie volleyball, but there have been a few years, Corey, where it just felt like they had the team. They just weren't quite able to quite put it all together. They were building, trying to get there. And now this is kind of the full fruition of all of that. The trees finally bloomed, and now they're able to have a lot of success this year, and they mowed down competition pretty much all year long.
Well, and we talk about it in other sports too, but 6A is a big old bugger. There's 21 teams in it, so the depth just by nature of quantity is always really good. Parker's Prairie's had nice volleyball over the years since I've been in the area, but you have to be real good. You have to be real good, not fake good, but real good and really good to make it out of 6A. It doesn't matter the sport. There's too many good teams all the way across the board. So yeah, it's fun. It's fun to watch Coach Reverine's team, and she's got a couple daughters on the team, and they're big. They're like 5'9", 5'10", 5. Like there's a 6-footer. Like they're just all big. They're all pretty nice athletes at worst. It's a nice volleyball team. This is a legitimate volleyball team.
Yeah, and as we've learned over the years, there's nowhere to hide in Section 6A. So they're going to have a chance to play in a section final game if they can win tonight. Corey's got the call in the Superstation K-106. Over on 101.7 FM and AM920 KWAD and online at wadenaradio.com/KWAD. We have Wadena-Deer Creek hosting, or I shouldn't say hosting, but they are going into a neutral site game to take on. They're the high seed because they're taking on the East Grand Forks Green Wave. The Wolverines came into the playoffs as the 6th seed in, again, a full Section 8 AA. And the East Grand Forks Green Wave got a shocking 3-0 victory against Dilworth Glendon Felton on the road to be able to get to this point. Wadena-Deer Creek also got an upset of their own. They beat the 3-seeded Roseau Rams in Roseau. It was a classic volleyball game. Talked a little bit about it on yesterday's show, so go back and listen to kind of the full breakdown there. But Wadena-Deer Creek in their full rhythm. They got their balanced attack. They got good play from the service line. But the main thing was, Corey, when you're on the road, playoff game, the lower seed facing a good squad in Roseau, you got to get your best player involved, and she's got to have a great game. And Peyton Gravel did that with nearly 20 kills in that match.
You know, it's sports are a more complicated thing than just showing up and playing most times. But sometimes let your players cook.
It's the old, it's the bell curve, you know, where it's got, or what is it? Where it goes up here? Is that a parabola? Doesn't matter. It's
I'm not going to say a word. I want to hear you figure this out.
Doesn't matter. We again, communications major trying to do math. That's not going to end up very well. But either way, it's the curve where you have the two ends that are down here, and then in the middle, you kind of have it both rising to the end.
Yeah, that's the bell curve.
Yeah,
which happens to be a parabola, I believe.
Yeah, exactly. Look at me, just throwing words around. All right. But at the top of the graph is somebody who goes, no, it's about coaching. It's about this. It's about preparation. It's about this. It's about tactics. And then in the end is like a person who is like supposed to be really smart. And on one end, it's a person who's supposed to be really dumb. And they go, the people with the best players win the game.
Yes.
And that's what sports can be. Yes, it's about preparation. Yes, it's about teamwork. Yes, it's about tactics. Yeah, it's about all those things. But also sometimes at the end of the day, if you have the best player on the floor, you're going to win. Peyton Gravel was the best player on the floor.
That's why you hear coaches say sometimes we just want to roll the ball out and play.
Right.
Just roll it out and play.
And Wadena-Deer Creek will have a chance to do that. Last time, by the way, they played East Grand Forks. They won in 4 sets in the Section 8 AA tournament in 2023. That was the last time these two teams met in the playoffs. It was in this section semifinal matchup where Wadena-Deer Creek won and was able to go into the section title game later where they got a victory against Perham to go back to the state tournament. And obviously Holly and Frazier on the other end. Holly is the juggernaut. They're the favorite to not only win that game tonight, but also win the section. But you know, if you want an opportunity to play Holly again, you're going to need to go through East Grand Forks. Now, these two teams played back in the very first week of the season. In fact, it was Wadena-Deer Creek's first game of the campaign, and the first win of the coach Courtney Thunberg era. It was a 3-0 victory in East Grand. Wadena-Deer Creek made the long road trip up there on August 26th. It's now October 28th. 2 full months have passed since that game, and I think both teams will tell you they are much better than where they were 2 months ago. And to see that come together, East Grand Forks coming in this one is 18-13, 9-8 in section play. Wadena-Deer Creek is 18-11 coming into this one, 6-3 in section play. Wadena-Deer Creek's QRF is 114.3. East Grand Forks has a 110 even QRF. Wadena-Deer Creek ranked 32nd in AA according to QRF. East Grand Forks 44th. Thing I noticed about East Grand Forks, Corey, they're not in a conference. They are independents.
Oh, no kidding.
In high school volleyball at the very least. But yeah, they did not play a single conference game this year because according to Minnesota Scores, they are not in a conference.
All right. Well, congratulations to them.
So interesting wrinkle in that one. But both teams getting upsets. So you know that, yeah, if you're Wadena-Deer Creek and you're thinking, oh, just East Grand Forks, well, they just beat DGF, who's the second best team in the section. So,
and we all kind of thought, no disrespect to anyone else, that they were like clearly the second best team in the section.
Right.
So that's more than an upset just by numbers. That is an emotional, mental upset as well. Because did we? We all kind of thought, right? Yeah, we all kind of thought that it was Holly number 1, and then a mile, and then DGF number 2, and then a mile, and then it felt kind of wide open from there.
Right.
Maybe a half a mile, but whatever. The point still stands.
The point is they were a good team, and they were rolling. And had it not been for Holly, they'd be the 1 seed, or they'd be the 1 seed in a lot of other sections in AA.
And like a clear 1 seed. So yeah, they're, and I think, you said it both. If you talk to both coaches, I think they would say that they're better teams, but they're supposed to say that. I think you would objectively say that about Wadena-Deer Creek, right? Having seen them.
Yes, they've gotten much better from August to now. And part of it is just, everything that they've done is the same. Obviously, Coach Thunberg taking over for Coach Volkman. Like there is, maybe in practice, a couple things are different, but in terms of the general vibes of the program, like everything is pretty much the same. And that stability has helped them. But like you have to deal with a new setter, and you had a setter in Addie Gravel who was there for 5 years. Like, you know what I mean? Like there's just a little bit of change that has to go with that. And Ashley Pavic is somebody that Coach Thunberg has talked about all season long. Is like, she's going to get there. It's going to take time. Like it's not anything ability related. It's just going to be, you need to get the reps and get the timing right with your attackers. And they have. And over the course of the season, that rapport with Peyton Gravel has really built up. And it's why you see Peyton Gravel now all of a sudden having like 80 kills over the last 6 games or something. Like it's just one of those where it's like she all of a sudden is just racking them up because they're finally getting into rhythm. And it's not like they weren't, or it was like bad. It just was this just is going to take some time to figure things out. And they finally have gotten to that point, and now they're ready to go. They have good play from the service line. They found the rotations that work for them, and now they can just kind of roll and see how things are. And remember, Corey, this was a team last year that got to the Section 8AA semifinal game. It's the 3rd year in a row Wadena-Deer Creek has made it to this. Ever since they've been back in 8AA, they've made it to the section semifinal. And even when they were in 6AA, they were giving teams a pretty hard run. So this has been a successful program for the last few years. They've kept the train on the tracks. And remember, last year, they took on Holly and took the Nuggets to 5 sets. And that team went on to win the state title and the section title, and no team took them to 5 sets. So, right. And that was a good, Wadena-Deer Creek had a few players that they graduated, so it's not the exact same team as a year ago. But the point stands of like, this is a program that's not scared of coming into these big moments in volleyball, and they're ready, and they'll be ready tonight in Moorhead, will be my guess.
No, if you pay attention to volleyball at all in 8AA, like if you'd never want to play Wadena-Deer Creek.
No.
It's just really that simple.
Exactly. It's fun too when you talk about setting, to go back to that, because obviously, as we know, Courtney Thunberg, when she was a part of the Wadena-Deer Creek volleyball teams that won the state tournament in 2010, she was a setter. She played collegiately at that level. So getting to pick her brain and like talk about, like, that was one of the very first things I asked her at the beginning of the year, like, you know, what makes a good setter? What are the things they can do? And and things like that. And just kind of the things that she shared are the things that, Pavic in this role now, because she's the setter this year, has picked up on and gotten that full confidence and things like that. And it's just really fun to see. It's what comes in a good setter. She's like, they got to be smart. They got to know this. They got to be able to do that. They got to communicate. They got like all of these certain things that she listed as being a good setter. And you're starting to see that happen now because they were always happening, but now the reps and the timing and all that stuff can kind of meet the speed of 8AA playoff volleyball. So it's really fun. I'm expecting a fun match tonight between the Green Wave and the Wolverines. If Wadena-Deer Creek does win, by the way, we'll have coverage of that. It'll be on Saturday, 7:00 first serve, believe from Moorhead again, as they're going to be the site of both of these ones. They were the host sites last year. So that'll, again, if you win, you get the right to, not counting out Prairie, they got an upset win over Perham, but most likely Holly. And you would play them on Saturday and see what happens if you can get the win. But of course, you got to beat the Green Wave tonight, who are on a roll coming into this match. So
hear that phrase? CJ just gave you some bulletin board material.
Pin it up there and prove me wrong. That'd be very fun. I'm rooting for you. So there, I just neutralized the bulletin board material. This guy said we're probably going to lose, but he's rooting for us. By the way, it's a great radio tactic. Is you just like sports talk radio tactic is you just dump all over the team that you're supposed to be covering. Right. You just dump all over them and rake them over the coals every chance you get, run them over with the bus and then back the bus back over them. And then when it's time to pick, you go, I don't know. I don't see any reason why the Vikings can't win this one. Yeah, it's a common radio thing, man. So. 101.7 FM, AM920 KWAD, online at wadenaradio.com/KWAD. That'll be where you can check this game out for Section 8AA playoff volleyball.
Playoffs? Don't talk about playoffs. You kidding me?
All right, Corey, we got a couple things just to kind of touch up on before we get out of here for the day, but we also have to touch up on the great things happening at Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade in Wadena. What's happening?
Well, did you know that they have pizza there?
Yes.
And did you know that they have an arcade there?
Of course.
And did you know that if you go there, you can do both of those things?
Yes.
It's true. You really can. And as a matter of fact, it's delicious and fun. And when you go there, you're going to have a good time. As a matter of fact, Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade in Wadena think and trust that you're going to have such a good time that they want your reviews. So if you go to the Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade in Wadena's Facebook page, there is an opportunity for you to take the survey, give your review, and let them know how they did. I'm going to give you a hint. Well, but it's not just doing this and offering them an opportunity to serve you better. It's a chance to win a $100 Pizza Ranch gift card. Tell me that wouldn't come in useful. It would. The Pizza Ranch has got your back for supper, for lunch, for your pregame festivities, for your tailgating opportunities, for takeout if you just want to eat at home, for your birthday parties and social gatherings. Check out the Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade, and then make sure you let them know how they did. Get yourself entered in to win a $100 Pizza Ranch gift card. That's the Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade in beautiful downtown Wadena.
It's as simple as that.
Ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba.
Bam. All right. Let's take a look at the Minnesota Timberwolves, who yesterday announced that Anthony Edwards is going to miss 2 weeks with a hamstring.
Boo.
Boo indeed. And it came on the heels of a back-to-back and a 2-week stretch where the Wolves play 8 games. That started last night on Peacock. Michael Grady, Timberwolves play-by-play broadcaster, getting to do the broadcast for the Wolves on a national stage, which was fun. And by national stage, I mean national stage with a Peacock subscription. So that's awesome. Thanks, Adam Silver. But my in-laws had a Peacock subscription. So guess who was logging into his wife's account there? So
when I know.
And the Wolves started out well offensively. McDaniels and Randall kept playing. The problem that the Timberwolves have faced is that when Rudy Gobert is off the floor, this team stinks defensively. Like, they've had some big issues. Obviously, it's Jokic. Murray's been having a great year. the Nuggets really are rolling, or like they're going to be a good team. They're going to be top 4 team in the West. And they had a night where Murray couldn't miss. I mean, he just was making everything. He could spin around so many times at the top of the key. He could just spin around and have a turnaround fade away and just, it would swish every single time. And then Jokic was going to get his, and they just couldn't keep up with the Nuggets. The Wolves offense, I mean, the Wolves offense had a nice game. The problem just has been their defense without Gobert on the floor has been bad. And this just isn't just a one game kind of thing. Obviously there's only 3 games in the season so far, but the early sample sizes have been when Rudy's off the floor, the defense has just struggled to kind of find their identity yet. And obviously not having Anthony Edwards helps either. So it'll just be something to monitor over these next couple weeks, but it's not going to get any easier. The Wolves tomorrow night host the Lakers. So
yeah, it's not a small, and like you said, it's not a small sample size. Like this goes back to not having Karl on the team. Like Naz can do some things on offense that Rudy Gobert can't even dream of. But
what, you mean catch the basketball?
But Gobert on defense is better than Naz on offense. Does that make sense?
Yep. The production you get defensively from Rudy Gobert far outweighs the offensive production of Naz Reid. And that's why Rudy Gobert, despite being just a net 0, and in fact, a net negative offensively, because he can't grab the basketball for some reason, it's why he's will be a potential Hall of Famer, because he's just so good defensively.
Yeah. I mean, he's an absolute Hall of Famer, by the way, but, yeah, no, the defense, they're just struggling. They're just struggling right now to figure it out. And who knows if it's this is just the part of the game that I don't know. I don't know if it's matchups early season, if it's getting your feet wet on a new year,
right?
If it's everyone's a year older, which obviously, I mean, they decided to run it back, so that has to be.
Yesterday you were working in, Terrence Shannon Jr.'s into the full rotation. You were getting some Dillingham minutes yesterday.
Yeah.
There's some guy, playing out of position a little bit.
I haven't seen the Wolves play yet this year. I haven't had the chance to, because I'm an old person. I don't get any of this.
That's why they played game number 2 with the trees in the old school court. Bless.
They look great. Who's the backup big? Is Senior Smoke playing? I should call him Junior Smoke.
Right now there really it's pretty much been, there hasn't been a lot of
when Rudy's not on the floor.
When Rudy's been on the floor, it's pretty much been Naz. So
yeah, and Naz is not he's not doing anything to Jokic.
Right.
And that's not fair. No one's doing anything to Jokic. So That's not a fair comparison.
The resistance he puts up, though, just will not be enough to slow him down in the slightest.
Not even a little.
So, the Wolves have some issues to figure out. They're still a talented team. And by the way, they were led in the first half. They led for a good chunk of the third quarter. It's just that Denver couldn't stop scoring in the third quarter. And the Wolves still put up 120 points in this game. Denver's a good team. Even with Anthony Edwards, even fully healthy, Denver still could come in and beat you. And you go, that's Denver. We'll get some of theirs. They'll get some of ours, and we'll kind of break for the play. And we hope we don't run into each other in the playoffs. That's pretty much what it is. I'm not going to overreact to anything. The Wolves play the Lakers again. No Luka, no Ant, but it's going to be on ESPN tomorrow night. So we'll see how excited they are about that matchup.
Yeah, who knows?
No LeBron either for the Lakers. So
yeah, it seems like they don't care.
The Julius Randle game.
I hate soft tissue stuff.
The worst.
Because all he's going to do now is not do anything, which is fine. Get it healthy, but he is shown to be a pretty resilient fella. And This is not one of those things you can be resilient with. You just have to let it heal, as we talk all the time about soft tissue stuff. And then then it's early season. Ant's a guy who plays himself into shape a little bit. And now he's not going to do anything for 2 weeks. And you're 2 weeks behind the 8 ball of playing yourself into shape too. The
good news is that it happened in October, early in the season. So there's plenty of time to just get, if you play, if you still play.
The bad news is this could be a thing that just lingers.
Right. That is the other thing.
But if it's the case, then you can afford right now to extend it to 4 weeks if you have to.
Right. Or you could bring him back, play him a game, rest him a game, play. There's ways you can kind of, again, everybody hates the word, but you can load manage a little bit and kind of slowly bring him up to speed and things like that. So We'll see. Speaking of injuries, the Minnesota Vikings announced yesterday that Carson Wentz has, in terms of players for the Minnesota Vikings, died because he went out there on Thursday night, and that dude was in some pain. They kept talking about it. That was all they could talk about because the game was so terrible. And turns out Carson Wentz is out for the season. Trying to find the official diagnosis just to make sure I get this right, but it's pretty brutal. A lot of it was in the non-throwing shoulder, which, at first glance, maybe doesn't think it's so bad, but it's still a lot of pain to play through. He's undergoing season-ending surgery on his left shoulder, placed on IR. He played multiple games with an injury. And yeah, there was like a more complicated way of kind of breaking down his full injury, but like basically just completely wrecked the left shoulder. And the biggest thing is obviously JJ McCarthy's on track to play. So, that's fine. The only thing is now you're one JJ McCarthy ankle roll again away from now Max Brosmer coming in, which maybe isn't the worst thing in the world, but also, again, you probably don't want to turn to the undrafted rookie quarterback in the middle of a season. But all of this is to say the big headline from yesterday, Corey, has been from fans and media alike. What was Kevin O'Connell doing playing Carson Wentz in that situation? What's your do you think that's a little overblown, or do you think that there is some criticism towards KOC and how he handled that?
I'll tell you why Carson Wentz was playing, because their backup is an undrafted 29-year-old rookie quarterback in Max Brosmer. We cannot go down this path with Brosmer. I like him. You like him. We all like him. He can do some stuff. He's accurate. There is a reason he was an undrafted quarterback and got a he's who else could it be? Who else could it be? It could have been no one else. Brosmer's not the guy yet.
Right.
There's no way he's the guy. Now, if we find out by some miracle that Max Brosmer is the guy and the second coming of Jesus Christ quarterback incarnate,
maybe even just the second coming of Brock Purdy,
then we can feel free to criticize KOC all you want. But the reality of it is he is an undrafted quarterback out of the University of Minnesota with a accurate but weak arm who's never played NFL football in his life. What else is he supposed to do?
Well,
it had to be Carson Wentz.
It had to be Carson Wentz. It had to be. And yeah, look, I think there is, you can look at it and go, look, man, that guy's clearly in some pain. You got to, for his own good, you got to take him out of there. But I mean, Carson Wentz knew the deal, right? Like, this guy wanted to play through it. This guy wanted to play in the NFL. This was kind of his last opportunity to show people he could still play in the league. This was his, he's not just playing for the Minnesota Vikings. He's also playing for half the league next year over the winter when it's time to sign a backup quarterback. And I think because of this gutsy performance, he's going to get teams to sign him because at least they know that, he could have easily just tapped out and said, I'm on a 1-year deal. Get me out of here. Play the other guy. I'm done. And he didn't. He stuck it out. He tried to play through. He was a good teammate and all that kind of stuff. And that'll earn him a job next year on a different team for a backup quarterback.
He deserves it. 100%.
He played through a lot. And the Vikings established, he hurt himself, by the way, against Cleveland. Remember that play against the Browns where he tried to run through a defender and he got smacked? And ever since then, he's been tweaked. So through the bye week, through the game against Philadelphia, he's only re-aggravated it since then, and then got eaten alive with 2 backup tackles. Carson Wentz knew the assignment. He knew his job as the sacrificial lamb. He knew his job as like a reliever in baseball that was getting shellacked. Sorry, man, you're going to have to, he's a long reliever that gave up a 3-run home run. You're already down 9 runs, and we don't want to tax everybody else. Sorry, man, you're going to have to go deal with that. And obviously, there's a case maybe he should have protected him from himself and things like that. But overall, Carson Wentz knew what the job was. Kevin O'Connell knew what the job was. Like you said, Corey, I know everybody wants to see Max Brosmer, but in a Thursday night blowout where the tackles couldn't block anybody, was on a short week, was not the right time to throw in an undrafted rookie quarterback.
Well, and I've heard, by the way, there's 2 points here that I think need to be added on to this. We're maybe overblowing the point a little bit about he knew what the job was. in terms of like recency, because he was going through it right now. The dude is the backup quarterback. This is his job.
Right.
His job is to keep the ship afloat until the starter can come back. That is his job. So like, let alone what he had to do the last couple of weeks. He deserves credit for that, but like, he signed up to be this anyway. Like, this was always a part of it in the preseason when they signed him, right? So that's the kind of the first part of this. And the second part of this, I don't really remember, but I do remember. I've seen the point made in other years, not necessarily this time, but in other years, around short week stuff of like, well, why couldn't you have Brosmer get ready in your like leading up to, you knew Wentz was hurt because he was hurt already. Why couldn't you have Brosmer get ready for the short week Thursday night game so he could be ready to roll? And the answer is, whether you like it or not, because that's not how it works. Because Max Brosmer was the backup, which means he needed to be in on all the game planning as the backup for the game against Philadelphia. And you can't pull that guy off of prep work. Yeah, you can't pull that guy off of prep work for the game he is the backup for in preparation for maybe he's going to start on the following short week. That's not how it works. They need all hands on deck. And when you are the backup quarterback, you have to be ready to get in the football game. You have to prepare like you're the starter when you're the backup. You just have to. So if anybody's thinking that or making that argument, I understand where it comes from, but also it's just flat out wrong. You can't pull a guy from preparation of 1 week for the next. They're doing that already with JJ McCarthy and preparing him for what needs to come next. So that argument is short-sighted.
Exactly. And by the way, yeah, Kevin O'Connell, they want to develop quarterbacks all the time, and I get it, but their main energy is developing JJ McCarthy. And if they can help Max Brosmer when they can, they will. But JJ McCarthy needs to be priority number one. Sorry, Gophers fans. But like that, and the only criticism that you can maybe say that's fair, maybe, is like when the Vikings were down, in the second half of that game, like they were still trying to go deep. They were still trying to run some stuff instead of just like running screen passes or running the football and just trying to get out of there, knowing your quarterback was banged up and you were going to lose. But also, like, Justin Herbert threw an interception. He had the ball inside the 30, and, like, NFL games can get crazy and things like that. And like the devil's advocate argument is like, well, they knew their quarterback was banged up. Should they just have kind of dinked and dunked a little bit and maybe tried to make it easier on him, to the point of like, maybe, but
I want to be as clear about this as possible. Do you think that maybe that needs to tell us more about Max Brosmer?
Right.
Then it needs to be a criticism of, I don't know. I'm not at practice. You're not at practice. No one I know is at practice ever. And I'm not saying that I don't have full-hearted support for who Max Brosmer could be. I mean, when he did get in the game, he threw 3-yard swing passes.
Right.
I don't know.
One drive and the game was over.
I just don't know what is your expectation of that guy. God bless him.
Player on the team is the backup quarterback.
What's he like? This is a manage your expectations kind of thing. And it's not meant to be dismissive of Max Brosmer and who he could be. No. If Max Brosmer couldn't even get in the game when Carson Wentz was damn near dying, I think that needs to tell you everything about Max Brosmer.
And this year, by the way, for Brosmer entirely was, hey, be the third string quarterback, be the scout team guy, like just hang out in the background and kind of work on your game a little bit. And next year compete for quarterback number 2.
It's week 9, by the way. He's the backup.
Right.
We're already asking him to bite off more than he can chew.
Exactly.
He's backup this week.
I would not be surprised if Brett Rippon or something like that shows back up in the building.
Howell or whatever
like some backup quarterback who's, do they trade for Nick Mullins again or something like that? It's the point of like they're going to bring in some cheap veteran quarterback just to have one on the roster. who could play. But again, it's to protect Brosmer because they technically have Desmond Ritter. And if the choice is Ritter or Brosmer, just please play Brosmer. And then I will go, okay, just put in Brosmer.
Yeah, but if he can't do it, if he can't read a defense, like at least Ritter can assess and
Ritter can't read a defense either, but at least if he dies on the field, you're not out long term. Like that's just that guy's a mercenary.
Our patience with Brosmer needs to be a B squad version of what our patience with JJ McCarthy needs to be.
And the fan base has already ran out of patience with JJ McCarthy,
which is ridiculous.
Right, exactly. It's everybody wants to develop a quarterback until it's time to develop a quarterback.
You got to week 9 and you forgot what the expectation of JJ McCarthy going into the season was, which was, let's see what we got.
Right. And now
it might not be good.
But you got to know
for that. So
exactly. And now JJ McCarthy is on track to start. And it's also why this, like, I think it was just too bad. Like you were too far down the injury path for Carson Wentz to try and slug through another week. But I think the sign that he's now out probably means that McCarthy is gonna start. You know what I mean? Like where it's like, all right, the starter's back in. I'm getting the surgery now. Like you don't need me anymore. Time to go under the knife and get ready for the summer.
I mean, and he was he was crying.
Right. That dude was in pain.
Yeah. I really I have
he's got the guts. You can't take that from him.
And he always has, right? He's always been a little bit of a dense door in that, like, he's going to he run into me. I dare you. 'Cause I'm going to run into you. He's always played that way. That's a Carson Wentz
cut off my finger kind of thing.
Yeah. So like, I think going into all this, like you and I were not excited about Carson Wentz as the quarterback of our favorite football team. And it was not good. It was not a good experience. But this is also true. These can be separate things. That guy really played his ass off for a couple of weeks there when he was a shell of himself.
They also, by the way, again, do you have a good backup quarterback? Can they go about 500 when they come in? And he went 2-3. So
the ship didn't sink.
It may be sinking, but it's not at the bottom of the ocean yet.
And the ship isn't sinking because of you.
Yes, that is the other. Yeah,
there is an entire offensive line, and there's an entire unhealthy offensive line, and an entirely healthy defense that is not holding up its end of the bargain right now.
Right, exactly. And in terms of the 2025 season, it's worst case scenario and how everything's played out. In terms of JJ McCarthy getting room to grow, not that this is best case, but this certainly is just kind of turned into a let's move the goalposts on the season, and this is it doesn't matter if the Vikings lose anymore. Like, it doesn't, like, if they, whatever. This whole season is just, what do we have in JJ McCarthy? Which, if he gets hurt again and has to miss another month, will be incredibly frustrating. Not at anyone, but just frustrated because now, like, you just got to see what McCarthy has. So it's conversation for a different day down the road. We could talk about this forever. But mainly, the main topic is just Carson Wentz and things like that. I understand people being frustrated about the injury stuff. And yeah, should O'Connell have taken him out? I don't think anybody would have criticized O'Connell for taking him out. But also, like, Carson Wentz, also, according to O'Connell, he said, I talked to the training staff. They said, look, he's already injured. It's a pain tolerance thing for him if he wants to do it. And Carson Wentz didn't tap himself out.
It's Kevin O'Connell's job to put the best players on the field. And if the best option at a position is telling you, I'm going back in, you are being negligent as a coach by pulling him.
Right, exactly. I know we like Brosmer because he played for the Gophers, but assume he played for, I don't know, Texas Tech, and he was an undrafted rookie quarterback. Would you be clamoring for him to come in the game as much as you had Brosmer? Just put a different helmet on him for when he played in college? Probably not. So
or if you were a team rooting against the Vikings, wouldn't you be like, yeah, put that guy in?
Right.
Yeah, please put in the undrafted guy. That sounds awesome.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, anyway, that's your Vikings.
I have a very high expectations and hopes for Max Brosmer. The guy's an NFL quarterback.
He's got an opportunity to be a very nice NFL backup.
And you can check the Morning Sports Desk archives. We have said it while he was in college. We said it.
Right.
You can check it. We have receipts. He's not ready yet, and that's okay. We need to be okay with this.
That's fine.
And JJ McCarthy might not be ready yet. We need to be okay with this. We knew this going in. We need to be okay with this.
Mm-hmm. All right, wrapping up the show with one last thing. I just want to bum out Corey's day, so I got to remind him the Minnesota Twins exist. So the Minnesota Twins exist. There you go.
Them.
Here's an update from The Athletic in their managerial search. This came out on Friday, but this is the first time we've had to kind of break things down.
Here's the article headline.
What?
Twins, let me guess what it is. Okay. The headline says Twins, managerial search update. And then the caption is going to be, have the Twins narrowed it down? And then you're going to click on it, and then the article's going to open up, and it's going to be this shruggy guy emoji.
Well, actually, the pictures of former Pirates manager Derek Shelton. So,
good.
Who is one? The Twins are down to 4 finalists, according to Dan Hayes and Brittany Garoli of The Athletic.
Okay.
After multiple rounds of discussions, the Twins appear to be focused on a group that includes ex-Twins bench coach and Pittsburgh Pirates manager Derek Shelton, New York Yankees hitting coach James Rowson, who held the same title with the Twins in 18 and 19, former Seattle Mariners manager Scott Service, and Chicago Cubs bench coach Ryan Flaherty. There had been some other ones. There was a bench coach for the Boston Red Sox, Ramon Vasquez. Kansas City Royals third base coach Vance Wilson was in the mix. Of course, Nick Punto, his name was thrown around, and that was a fun one to talk about for a second. But it appears they're down to 4, and I mean, whatever. I think basically the one I think that the fan base would be most excited about would maybe be James Rowson, because he was the hitting coach in 2019. And I think the fan base remembered him fondly when he was the hitting coach here, because he left when the offense was the most home run hitting offense ever. And that's the last memory of him. But I think in terms of James Rowson probably is maybe the guy. I think the one that would provide the fan base in terms of fan base optimism, hiring Derek Shelton would be a wet fart, because
what? I mean, listen, I know you're trying to talk yourself into this, but what of those 4 options isn't a wet fart?
I know, but I'm saying this is the worst one out of the 4.
I honestly, this is my belief. They all suck. It doesn't matter.
Twins are going with comfortability in this, and you can clearly tell.
You could reincarnate prime Joe Torii, and I wouldn't feel good about this.
Right. The franchise is in just such a weird spot. But I think Rowson would be the number one. I'm not saying it's high, but I'm saying he's the number 1. And then in between, you have Scott Service, who probably is a 3, but at least he had some time in managing Seattle, although it didn't end good. And now 1 year, his replacement took him to the ALCS and had him win away from the World Series. So again, does that optimism look good? And then the Cubs bench coach, Ryan Flaherty, who was a former player, kind of very Rocco Baldelli-ish mold in terms of the backstory and the journey there. He kind of just sits in the middle as a meh, just because the fans don't really know who he is. But overall, this is what the Twins are doing. This is why, and I've said this for the last 3 years now, everybody goes, fire Baldelli. And I said, guys, if you fire him and the GM, who was the president of baseball operations, who's now the president of the team, as well as the president of baseball operations, if he's still the same guy, how much is it really going to change? And everybody got their wish, and Baldelli got fired, and we all danced in the streets. And now they're going to basically hire just a different looking Rocco Baldelli. Or why? Who's surprised by that? I've been predicting this for the last 3 years. Every time people have been talking about Baldelli's job security, they're just going to hire a different Rocco.
Yeah. And, I know you're trying to, you've tried to put this in what would the fan base be most excited about? And I think that's fair. I think it's a fair way to frame it. But also, the poll ads don't give a darn tootin' about what the fans think about this organization. So they will.
You got me there.
What they do care about is what they care about. And I think what's the Yankees guy? What's his name again?
James Rowson.
Rowson. To me, he's the guy, because the owners are going to remember him fondly. And they're going to think that
they can sell 2019 hype again or something.
That's what they're going to think about. They don't care. If they cared about what the Twins fans thought, we wouldn't even be in this situation.
If they cared about what the Twins fans thought, they would have sold the team. They would have actually went through with the sale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They would have made a trade in 2023. They would have, like, there's a lot of things that they would have done if they cared about the Twins. And what they care about is what they care about. And they think hiring a guy who was the hitting coach of a team that hit a bunch of home runs with home run hitters, by the way, that's an important caveat in all of this. They think that will be the thing. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I don't know. I don't care. And it's not one of those, like, I don't care because there's not a wrong decision. I don't care because I have apathy.
Pretty much.
I don't care. It doesn't matter who they pick.
My theory that, like, my half-baked theory, or, whatever you want to say, like, the one that's in the back of my mind that I don't know is true or not, but it just kind of feels like the Twins probably would just hire Derek Shelton. If, like, that maybe is Falvey's number one. Maybe. I don't have any insider information. But, like, he was the Twins bench coach. He left to go be the Pirates manager. He has what you would tell the ownership is he has managerial experience. But basically, he'll just basically do the same kind of, it's not a one-to-one. He's not going to be the exact same as Rocco, but he would just give you he would do a lot of the same things or believe in a lot of the same things that Rocco did because he was his bench coach. And you could just kind of, like, you don't really have to change much structurally about how you're doing things as an organization. But the problem is he didn't win in Pittsburgh, and that was an impossible. Winning in Pittsburgh is almost as, if not more impossible than trying to win in Minnesota. And he couldn't do that. So maybe he gets a mulligan for that. But, like, that dude.
But how's it going to be different?
Brought apathy in Pittsburgh too. Like, he couldn't turn that ship around either. No pun intended. Like, he got them. He couldn't dig them out of the mess they were in either with low payroll and high talent. And at least that team had Paul Skeens. So let's throw out a different. My theory quick is just that I think Baldelli, if he could just pick one without any repercussions, would be Derek Shelton.
If Falvey, you mean?
Yeah, if Falvey could just pick a guy, they go, oh, Derek Shelton, because he'll just keep the train on the tracks and do the things we are already doing.
Yeah, the train on the tracks.
It's going over the cliff, but at least we can stay on it.
Yeah, right. We lost brakes a mile back, but so all right. So here's another question that is worth considering in all of this: is other than the very obvious, there's only 30 managerial jobs, right? There's just not a lot of them. There's just not a lot of them, and that really counts. Other than that, like, why would somebody who's been a part of this organization and willingly left want to come back? Like, isn't your best option then to go get that Flaherty guy and be like, well, this guy's never been a manager. Let's go give him his, like, we have to go get the guy because these other coaches have been managers and have a certain expectation. Also, costs are going to cost a little more.
I was just about to say Flaherty might be your cheapest option.
Flaherty is going to be your cheapest option, and he wants to be the guy. When these other guys are like, I'm not going from Pittsburgh to Minnesota. Gross to as gross. Get out of here.
Right.
When I was the Yankees hitting coach, I get to coach Aaron Judge and be in the mix for the World Series every single day. Or I can go be the manager for the Twins.
Which means every year I'll always be in managerial conversations.
What are we doing? So that's there's a million theories about how this is going to go. You know, I think if I said, wouldn't it be funny if they just went into it and they didn't have one? They didn't have a manager. It was just like a bench coach by committee situation.
It's like a Roman consuls. They all just take turns every series.
Would it really surprise you? There is a theory, or Bill Simmons, who I like to listen. He's got the Mike Tyson zone, and the Mike Tyson zone is every story you hear about that person, there is a sliver of, oh, that could be true.
Right. You'd believe anything you heard about this person.
If I told you that the Twins started spring training without a hired manager yet, would that actually really surprise you?
No.
I mean, it would be very surprising. But when we get to February and be like, of course, that's how this is going.
They book it as a revolutionary idea. Look at us trying to be innovative and, you know, all the different corporate buzzwords you could throw in there.
It wouldn't put you on your seat, that's for sure.
No, it would not. So that's how the Twins managerial update has broken down, and Whether they'll announce something before the World Series is over or not depends. Now, they're still playing that World Series game, mind you, between the Blue Jays and the Dodgers. But 2 games for the price of 1 is what I
Who's
say.
the Dodgers second baseman?
Tommy Edman.
That play he made behind first base is one of the most incredible plays I have ever seen. I've been thinking about it all day.
You went to sleep with that on your mind and just it's not gotten away.
It was such a good play. It made the base running look like a mistake, and it wasn't.
It was the right call and everything. It's the talk about it all the time. Like, we're going to force that guy to make a play. It's going to take a perfect throw. And
it was such a perfect throw. It made it look like you were an idiot.
Right.
Man, that was awesome. Good job by that guy.
Good job, Tommy Edman. Turns out the Dodgers have a lot of really good players.
They don't have a single bullpen guy, and it doesn't matter. They don't have a single bullpen arm, and it doesn't matter.
They certainly don't now that they had to use everybody. By the way, fun stat before we get out of here. The Dodgers have played in 2 World Series games that have gone 18 innings. They played the last one in 2018 before now. So, and by the way, Brad Paisley sang the national anthem for both of them.
Brad Paisley sung the national anthem before Game 2 in 2017. That went 11 innings. Game 3 in 2018, that went 18 innings. Game 1 in 22, that went 10 innings. 3, he's pitched, like, if you want your game to go long, Brad Paisley sings the anthem.
And just like a Brad Paisley song, it'll have a 1-minute long guitar solo.
Yeah.
Because
he wants to check you for ticks.
Morning Sports Desk, powered by Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade in Wadena.
Powered by Wadena's Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade. Follow the Morning Sports Desk on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. And watch every show on YouTube.